Hello and welcome to part 2 of the Final Fantasy X Magic Only run. With me, I am your host for the evening, or whenever you're watching this. My name is Ginger, Genasi, Ginger, whatever you would like. And we did a lot of groundwork in the previous one, so we're just gonna lay the rules briefly down. We're not gonna spend too long on this. So, if in case you've forgotten, they are in the description below, but no physical damage, no physical overdrives, no damage items. Aeons can only use magic in non-Aeon to Aeon fights, expert sphere grid only, and no glitches or exploits. So, let's, without any further ado, let's get this started. Maybe. So we need to talk about where everyone's going to go. So Lulu is very obvious. We're going to go down a damage dealing grid. The second highest magic stat in the people is Yuna, and she's going to also go down the damage dealing grid. So we've got two really strong damage dealers. The next person who has the strongest magic is actually Kimahri. So Kimahri is going to be our third damage dealer. So these three are the Holy Trinity. We are going to massively damage everybody and destroy the world. So that leaves, obviously, Tidus and Wakka. So Tidus, I decided to do a white mage route. The reason being behind that is because he has quite naturally high agility at the start of the game anyway, and so does have enough opportunities to jump in, heal, and then jump out again. Wakka, I changed my mind a few times, but I decided to go down Tidus's grid. To get haste, because we need haste eventually. So he's going to get haste, and then I actually decide to go down Riku's grid to go into at the end of Yuna's. So we've got quite high, for quite long-term aspirations for both of them. However, I don't want to spend 5 hours on Besaid grinding 7 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, you know, and get into them. So I will allow this next boss fight to be done normally. So I will show that later. So now we are fighting the Sin Fin. So I messed up here, but what I was doing is getting Tidus in and Wakka in just to defend, and getting Yuna and Lulu in to kill Sinspawn. And then I did Kimahri with Lancet, because Lancet's not cheating in my rules, but you know, so he doesn't learn any magic yet because he's not actually had a chance to look at the sphere grid, so he can just defend, whereas Lulu and Yuna are there to kill Sin. So what we've done is we slowly started to whittle down Sin after we destroyed 2 Sin spawn, and unfortunately I killed Sin too early, which means that ends the fight. So what I would suggest to do, if you want to grind a little bit, is getting Sin into a one-hit range. I didn't realize Lulu was going to do that much damage. Getting Sin one hit away, and then killing loads of Sin spawn until they run out of magic, and then you can go and kill Sin. We didn't do that in this instance, so no. We did the normal underwater Sin fight as usual, as normal. So we're not really going to go too much into that. So let's skip on to Kilika and the boss fights there. So the first fight I do is Ochu. So I did grind a lot in Kilika. I wanted to get Kimahri at least fire. So we get fire for Kimahri, and then we go into Ochu. So Ochu is very weak to fire, as you probably are aware of. And that is what we are there to just essentially break him down. So you can use haste on everyone. I mainly was just focusing on getting Lulu dealing the damage, as well as Yuna, as well as Kimahri, and really whittling down the fire. Eventually Ochu falls asleep. And it does regenerate each turn. And that you can use focus, just make sure that doesn't happen, but I just kept doing that. He hits us with Earthquake, it does a lot of damage, but it doesn't kill anyone, and then we just finish it off with fire. So it's really quick and nice and easy to do. The next Sin Spawns fight is up the stairs, and it's got the two tentacly things and this rock thing that sighs all the time. So what you need to do is you need to destroy the tentacly things because they will absorb magic if you hit the main thing. They're not weak to anything, but they are not resistant to fire. And they are resistant to all the other elements. So destroy those with fire, make sure that Walker and Tidus get a turn, and then just start blasting fire at the main boss that does unravel from its shell. But it's very weak to fire. It's a very easy boss fight, and you've got it sorted. So hopefully, we're going to have some challenges coming up soon. So we do the Kilika trials and we end up attempting to do the jet shot. We actually do get it here because I will be doing some blitzball. And we head on into Luca. Now, while we're preparing for the first match, we need to go and run and find Orin in the cafe at Yuna's request. Yuna then gets abducted, and then we go into the fight. So this is the fight with the Blitzerator. So I do panic in this fight, and I'll go over why. So you go and find the dock 4, and you do fight against machines now with Machina. Now with Lulu and Kamari both having thunder, this is not going to be difficult at all. We head on over to the boss fight. Now the boss fight, I do try to do Lulu's overdrive. It doesn't work particularly well because I realize there's the crane and there's also the Blitzerator. But I thought, let's just try and do it the Blitzerator with magic and not use the crane. So this is where I freak out. The Blitzerator counters with Mute Ball. Now, the status effect only lasts for one turn, which I found out later, but at the time, I didn't know. So it does only use, it uses Mute Ball, but only for one turn. So all we need to do is just constantly hit Thunder with Lulu and Kamari. I do use some remedies just to alleviate silence, but it is important that it only lasts for one turn, so if you really don't want to use that, you're more than welcome not to. You can just wait your turn and defend or whatever. It is very strong, it is achievable though, and so we do kill it. When we do the Blitzball match, you can choose to win or not, it doesn't really matter, purely and simply because you get a strength sphere for winning. And it doesn't really make much difference for this run. I win, but I don't. It's not imperative. So then you have to fight loads of creatures in the Blitzball arena and outside of the Blitzball arena until Seymour comes and destroys everything with Anima. Mihan High Road presented us with a few challenges. So there are a few enemies, such as the shell enemy, such as the evil eye, the floating eye equivalent, and the Mihan Fang, that all are really very resistant to magic. And so it did make this a lot more tougher than I actually anticipated it to be. Jewel Horn is very strong, but it's very strong. Not resistant to magic, but it's got loads of HP. And the grenades are, although they have got low resistance to magic, it's still like a worrying type. So it is not a difficult place overall, but with the high magic resistances and the fact there is huge gaps between the save spheres, we were struggling a lot more than we thought. So then we go into the fight with Chocobo Eater. Now there are 3 ways to end the fight. You can either destroy it, you can either knock it over the edge, or be knocked over the edge. Now ideally you want to knock it over the edge rather than kill it. So we do just blast it with fire, and then we do heal it towards the end just so we're not killing it, and we knock it over the edge. You've got to do a certain amount of damage threshold to knock on its back, and then some more damage threshold to make it roll backwards, and then do enough damage before its next turn so it then knocks on its back again. So if you are feeling you're doing too much damage, just make sure you do get a strong healer to heal it, and then you can go going forward. When you knock over the edge, you do get some level 1 key spheres, and you can ride chocobos for the first time for free. So grab a chocobo and let's go into Mushroom Rock Road. Mushroom Rock Road is very, very easy in comparison. Here is where we really need to start leveling up Lulu and Yuna to get the second elemental spells. We don't need all of them, we just need one. Fyro is particularly good. If you get all of them, that's always a bonus. It is a lot easier here as you do have a save through at the beginning, and also you've got Shalinda who can heal you further on at no cost. So it is a lot better value. Just make sure you get the tough bangle for Lulu, and then just make sure you're leveling up, especially Titus and Walker, as there is going to be a boss fight soon with just those two people. Now, you can actually get something from a Walker here, especially if you've let him gill early, it will be cheaper. I am getting a Metal Shield, but it's not imperative, it's not important to the overall plan, so we can just battle on and go forward. So the boss fight with the Synth Spawn is actually a really fun one, I really do enjoy it. So when you have the second elemental spells, Fyra, Thundara, Blizzara and Warsura, you can actually destroy the arms and get an overkill on them. You can grind here, I wouldn't advise it. When the head starts bobbing and weaving and doing a funky dance, make sure you cast a spell on it just to stop it moving, otherwise it will cast Venom, and then it's just about whittling the Synth Spawn down. When you have Seymour on your side as well, he has the second elemental spells and is very strong magically, so it's not going to take long at all. I don't use this overdrive here, but we can move on. So when you get that, you do get a lot of level 1 key spheres, which is really, really good. And then we can move on to the Jose High Road. Jose High Road is a really, really important place for us. So you may have noticed while I was in Kilika and also Besaid and a few other places, but mainly Kilika, I was attacking enemies with ability spheres. Now I did end up healing them afterwards just to kind of see, just so it kind of like remediates that physical damage that I did, but I attacked them with Distill ability, and the reason is because with all the abilities we're learning, such as all the magics, whether it be white magics or black magics, mainly, you need to make sure you have the ability spheres, because no enemies actually drop ability spheres until, you know, basilisks do. So having basilisks here on Jose Road, High Road, means that we're able to actually finally never have to use that again. We do get distill spheres later that we can just throw at enemies. I don't know if they do damage, but for the minute we have been using distill ability, but we no longer need to from now on. So this is a pivotal part of our run. Make sure you do get the special sphere in the Jose Temple and the Cloister of Trials, as this is a magic sphere. Obviously, as we're doing a magic-only run, it's very, very important that we do that. I'm not going to go through how you get the secret item. You can watch my unedited playthrough if you'd like. So then we start to go over to Moonflow, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So we're now going into Moonflow, which created its own challenges. So we had to really focus on leveling 3 people. Kamari, because he is going to be our next highest damage dealer behind Yuna and Lulu. And we need to get him damaging. So we need to get him the second elemental spells, and then Titus and Walker are about to go into a boss fight. Now the boss fight is like in the midway part through through Moonflow. So yeah, that's gonna be fun. So the enemies here aren't particularly strong. They're not worrying. I'm not particularly scared. We did fight Valgamane, so we can get abilities for our Aeons as well. I advise you win them, but it's not needing. It's not mandatory that you win, so it's alright. So, we went through Moonflow, focusing on Kamari, Walker, and Titus. We got Titus Thundara, and Walker just went through Titus's grid to get haste, and then through Riku's grid to get HP and to get a few other things. So he's not really going to be much use as of yet, but we're hoping that he's going to be a bit more useful later on. So we got Kamari, the second elemental spells, and we got Tidus. Tidus went through Una's Grid to get through to Lulu's second elemental spell, so he's built up a lot of MP and a lot of magic since he was last useful, which was Sinspawn fight early on. And now we're going to go and fight the Extractor. Is it the Extractor? It's the watery thing. The watery boss thing that turns into a person. Yeah, so it's weak to lightning and it's half to everything else. So we want to kind of see how much damage we do with Thundara. We do around about 600, which is really, really good. So we just focus on doing Chia to raise the defense. Looking back, I probably should have had Focus, because Focus increases magic and magic defense. And I feel as though the damage they're doing with magic defense, or magic rather than physical. But when it rises up, it readies an attack, and you've got to do over 500 points of damage. Now, because our only damage dealer is Tidus, and we're doing Thundara, and that's stopping, that's over 600 points of damage, it does bring the Extractor down. This was a fight that I was really worried for. It looks like I shouldn't have been, but I feel as though going through Una's Grid to go to Lulu's was the best course of action. I'm going to send him back through to Una's Grid to get healing spells and also to increase magic and MP, and focusing on getting more damage for Kamari so we can actually start to destroy a lot of things going forward. Afterwards we do get Riku. Riku is an interesting case. She is going to go through Lulu's Grid. I thought she was more magically inclined than she actually was. She's actually not magically inclined at all. But she is still quite well-rounded for a very, very early character. So I feel as though going through Lulu's Grid is going to just be the best course of action for her. Going through Guadasalam, there's nothing really different here. It's the standard Guadasalam route that everyone else does, as there's no fights here. But then we start to encounter the Thunder Plains and go through there. So let's have a look at how they were for us. So the Thunder Plains were slightly different than what I anticipated them to be. I didn't think they'd be too difficult, and they weren't, but there were a few hiccups along the way, and things that I didn't quite plan for. So the normal enemies are very easy. They have quite a weakness to water or magic, I mean, even if they are resistant, because Lulu is and Una, and to be fair, Kamari, deals so much damage, the resistance to magic isn't as detrimental as maybe you would think. However, there are a few instances where it does become a little bit problematic. So the first one is the Iron Giant. The Iron Giant is quite strong in terms of its magic resistance and HP. It doesn't really have any weakness to any particular element. It is just it's just strong against, I believe, lightning. The issue that we have with that is I don't know whether it's the AI or just really bad luck, but they do tend to attack the person with the least amount of HP. And in that case, it was always Riku. And Riku then just kept dying over and over again. And so essentially, any fight with the Iron Giant, we would not be able to get Riku experience. And that would be the case for a few people in our party, because going down Lulu's Grid, there isn't much, or Una's Grid, there isn't much HP. So it's kind of difficult to, especially on the Expert Sphere Grid, especially difficult to grind on the Expert Sphere Grid for HP, because you're going to go ages without finding one. And so that's a massive detriment for Riku. However, we are still managing to beat the Iron Giant most of the time. We never wipe to it, so that's good. But the second problem that I didn't even plan for is the quactors. It starts with a Q, so we're going to assume it's that, but we'll just call it cactus, just because it sounds normal. So cactus are very magical resistant. And that's a problem, because that's all we're allowed to do. Now, we didn't actually manage to kill any of these because of that. Our magic would do like single figure digits, and that's really not sustainable. So we never managed to kill it, but there would be great leveling opportunities. So potentially there's something we can do. I mean, even when we poison them, it doesn't do any damage really. So it's not worthwhile to continue the endeavor for them. I believe they're also immune to Demi, so casting Demi would not save us time or with this either. But apart from that, it wasn't overly difficult. Usually you can grind here on the cactus, just because they do relinquish quite a lot of AP. However, that's not available for us. But we have done a lot of grinding before, because we are a lot further along than people would be at this stage of the game anyway. So we are in a lot better position than normally. So with that being said, it's really easy to keep on just pushing on. So with that, I think it's time we now go into Marcolania Woods and see what's going on there. So before we head into Marcolania, I think it's only fair that we do a power check. So let's bring up everybody's stats. So I'm going to break them down. So let's start with Lulu, our damage dealer, our black mage expert. She has 35 magic and 252 MP. We're only really going to focus on those because when you go through Lulu's grid, you will get a lot of evasion, magic defense, and then magic and MP. Whereas when you go through Yuna's grid, you're going to have high MP, high magic, but not so much evasion or magic defense. So because we've got, at least 5 people going through Lulu's grid, it's only fair actually we then specify the 2 main stats we're going to be focused on: magic, how strong you deal damage, and MP, how much amount of damage you can deal, like how many spells you can cast. So start off with Lulu. She's just learnt Demi, which is a really, really useful spell, and she's very close to getting the 3rd elemental spell, such as Firaga. She does have, like I said, 35 magic and 252 MP, so she definitely is the strongest in terms of both MP and also magic. We then get into Yuna. So Yuna is the same in magic. She is also 35, and she's just learnt Bio, which isn't going to be particularly useful because after Marcolani, if you know, Yuna just decides to wander off somewhere. But she does actually have a bit of a drop in magic. MP. She's got 224 MP. So still the same amount of damage that Lulu can deal, probably a little bit more with a Rod of Wisdom, but she can still deal a lot of damage. Maybe that's the same. I don't know if I upgraded Lulu's weapon. But it's she doesn't have the longevity that Lulu has with her MP. We're then going to look at Kamari. So Kamari is just about to learn Reflex, and is 28 magic and 238 MP. So a big drop in magic, but actually has higher MP than Yuna. So although he doesn't do as much damage at this moment in time, he can deal damage for longer periods of time than Yuna can, which is really quite interesting. So obviously not as high as Lulu, but Lulu is on her grid, like she's gonna have higher MP. Then we've got the people that we're not really concerned about, which sounds horrible, but it's true. So we've got Riku, first of all, who has 15 magic and 105 MP. She's still quite early on in her sphere grid career, and she's going to start going off from Lulu's grid to a few other grids to increase her stats, such as HP and things like that. Just so we can get her a bit more well-rounded, because her HP is shocking at this precise moment in time. As I mentioned, that she keeps just dying in Thunder Plains. So again, she's not really strong, she's not really helpful in the long run, bless her. Not at the minute anyway. We've then got a Walker who's also got 15 magic, but he's got slightly more MP at 110, so he's not going to be a damage dealer, considering he's a lot further along than Riku is. He's not going to be a magic damage dealer anytime soon. We've then got Tidus, who has a little bit more magic at 17 magic, and also has 152 MP. So he is definitely the next strong one with Kamari, but it's a significant drop. Like between Lulu and Yuna and Kamari, there is a 7-point difference in magic, whereas there is a 11-point drop from Kamari to Tidus. So he's not really going to be dealing damage anytime soon. He's going more into Yuna's grid, and Yuna's grid, you don't, apart from the heals, you don't really need magic. So Shell and Protect, I don't know if they have like a Kingdom Hearts 1 thing where the more magic you have, the longer it lasts, or what, but you don't really need magic. But he's going into Yuna's grid anyway for that, so it's not really a concern. It's just he needs to have a lot of MP. And then finally we have Orin. Now Orin I have not leveled up because he's not been useful at all. We're slowly going to start to use him more and push him more into getting slow and Haystaga and things like that, but he's not really immensely useful as of yet. So he has 12 magic and 93 MP. And that's not a lot, is it, at all? No, it's not. Again, we're not going to be dealing a lot of damage in Tidus's grid. He can only do like haste and slow. So it's going to be a slow burner, for lack of a better term. Yeah, and he's not really going to be useful as of yet. He may be in, the next couple of battles, like in the next couple of areas, but at the moment he's not useful. But that's our power check for today, for this episode. We'll do one of these once episodes so you can kind of see where we're at. I may mention it in the things, you may see some abilities, but I think if I don't know how long this is going to last, but if I do at least a power check, then you roughly know where we are going into a significant portion of the game, which for me is Macalania. That is part 2 done. So I've tried a different editing style. This is much more fast-paced than the previous one. That was a lot more laborious because I feel like we had to do a lot of groundwork and lay that down. And I wanted to do something a little bit different, a little bit more fast-paced, get into the action part of it, and actually discussing a little bit more of the highlights rather than the every single point, and not dissecting every bit by bit, but just being a general more of an overview, and hopefully you enjoy it as well. If you didn't, or if you did, let me know in the comments down below. I want to hear your thoughts as a place for me to grow, and so you can enjoy what you're consuming, but also I can grow as a creator, as that is very important to me. So please let me know what you think. I will take any criticism on board. And anything that you liked, I'll make sure that I try and implement it in the future streams. Future episodes, what am I on about? I'm very tired, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, I need to go to bed. But I want to get this finished before I go. So, I have also got different games in the music. There is at least 4 different games, maybe even 5. So if you do get any of those points, let me know. I want to see what your fields of reference are. Are you okay with deviating away from the Final Fantasy X themes, or would you rather all the themes be that we play in the videos are from that specific game? Let me know, because I'll be interested to see where yours is. I like to go a little bit different. It varies a bit, and I feel as though it's good to blend it, but again, it's up to you. It's something that I think is quite enjoyable, using my fields of reference to find other musics that I think would work quite well. But it's up to you. It's up to you what you guys think, really. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to say that my name is That One Dude. You've been watching me play Final Fantasy X Magic Only Run. If you enjoyed, I'm so glad you did. Thank you for stopping by, and hopefully I'll see you in another one. Bye, guys.